Hey, Carl Munson here, and it's my pleasure this morning to be talking to Jason Swan of Holborn Assets. Let's bring him onto the screen right now. Jason, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, Cal. Very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm pretty well, yeah. I've been in your part of Portugal just over the last few days in the Algarve. I think that's where you are. Had a lovely time there. Back up at the Silver Coast now, and it's raining. I don't know how it is for you this morning.
It's okay. Consider it's mid November, Cal. We've had one day of sun this week, so I'll take that for mid November. It's not too bad.
Not too bad at all. And one of the many reasons to move to Portugal, the fantastic weather, mild in November, a light smattering of refreshing rain. And one of the many reasons why people would want to come here. And we're talking specifically about the Golden Visa, which is a great route of entry to Portugal. However, Jason, in this last couple of weeks, the Portuguese Prime Minister has caused a bit of a stir, hasn't he, by casting some doubt on the future of the Golden Visa. What did you make of that when you heard that speech at Web Summit?
It's nothing we weren't expecting in the near future, Cal. To be fair, and the Golden Visa has been under the spotlight for a little while. In general, yeah, the Prime Minister is making it quite clear that he's no longer too interested in offering the Golden Visa. It's kind of served its purpose now since it was launched. And yeah, at some point, it will be withdrawn. Um, I don't think there's any kind of imminent panic just yet. It is only the comments of the Prime Minister right now. At some stage, we will start to see something come to fruition, but there's still quite a long road for it to be physically withdrawn.
So no
So
need to
yeah, I mean,
panic. No need to panic at this stage.
no need to panic, but there is a sense of urgency. If it is something that that viewers are looking to do over the next year or two, rather
Yeah.
than it be the next year or two, maybe it should be the next kind of 6 to 12 months, because in a worst case scenario, Kyle, it could be pulled within 6 months, and you need to actually have had your application submitted before that time. And to submit an application, you need to have purchased a property as well, which, as you'll be aware, can take some time, 4 or 5 months some time
Yeah.
to complete in Portugal.
Okay, but that's the prime minister, possibly a little bit of political posturing, and of course he can't just suddenly change it. It has to go through a political and law-making process here in Portugal. At the demand end, it doesn't seem to be slowing up. You were telling me before we got started that you're getting a lot of demand still, and quite a lot from America, right?
Yeah, I mean, we work as a wealth management practice primarily, Cal, but recently I've been more of a citizenship and residency advisor, because we get in so many inquiries of not just kind of planning for Portugal financially, but planning to just get into Portugal. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say maybe 70, 80% of the inquiries that we're seeing at the moment are coming from America. So I'm not one to get into politics, but I believe there's something to do with politics in the US, and our clients generally looking for kind of a backup option, not an immediate move necessarily, but the common
Oh,
theme
okay.
is looking for a bit of a backup option for, should things go one way or the other in the future.
A contingency plan, if you like, and an additional passport, an entry into Europe generally, not just Portugal. I mean, Portugal has many benefits, which we'll talk about, and they are detailed on your website here, why you should consider the Portuguese Golden Visa in 2022 and beyond, of course, and quite a lot of the benefits listed there. But perhaps you'll treat us to a few of those now. It's clearly a contingency plan with an uncertain political future in America. But you could extend that to countries all around the world. These are strange times, aren't there? And people are seeing a sense of safety in Portugal, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, it's hardly by long means kind of driven by politics. That's just one topic at the
Yeah,
moment, specifically for our American clients that we've been speaking with. But Portugal has been the hotspot in Europe for some time. We probably need some time to go through all of them, Cal. But yeah, I moved to Portugal for a good reason, apart from the weather, which is the most basic benefit. It offers some of the very best healthcare and education systems in the world, and it is very much seen as the kind of gateway into Europe as well. The requirements to attain residency in Portugal, and after five, getting a European passport
mm.
after 5 years are relatively clear to follow, and it is then 27 passports effectively in one, because you have rights to live in the EU.
Yes, that's very attractive to people, isn't it? So you're not just coming to Portugal. Given Portugal's place in the European Union, as Jason says there, you have access to many other countries, and that's part of people's long-held dreams, isn't it? To go to France. I won't include the UK in that, of course, anymore, but certainly all over the rest of Europe. Portugal is fantastically positioned on this western flank of Europe to go back to the United States or visit the United States, go down to Africa, and of course explore all of the rest of Europe. So brilliantly positioned. Any other praises you want to sing about Portugal? Yeah, I mean, how long have you been here?
Well, I lived in Spain for 5 years. Came to Portugal 2 years back,
Right.
and went down in the Algarve, which, as you'll
Yeah.
know, is where we've got the very nice beaches. It's a little
Yes.
bit of a slower pace than Lisbon and Porto, but we're only 2 hours from Lisbon, and what would you say, 4 or 5 hours from Porto. So you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Superb. And yeah, tell us more about Portugal then. Generally, what is it that your clients are loving about the idea of coming here?
Generally, the lifestyle, Cameron, it's a nice, relaxed lifestyle as a whole. The quality of life and the cost of living as well is comparatively very low
Yeah.
to other parts of Europe, but it's not to other parts of the world. But it's not just, of course, for people that are moving now. It's also for family. It's also for education. There are certain parts of the world where you don't have the same benefits as a
Yes.
Portuguese citizen does. So it's also planning for now, but also planning for family, for the future, for their education, and for some of our older clients now thinking about healthcare as well, and the cost of healthcare. Portugal has a very good healthcare system,
Mm.
which again is another, not a big point for me just yet, but I'm sure I will be there quite glad of it someday to come.
Well, fingers crossed for that. You make it sound easy. Could you take us through a process? And I'm guessing there's certain things outside of your control when you're dealing with the Portuguese government and its bureaucracy. But could you take us through a kind of a case study, if you like? Not naming any names, but a typical process. What it takes, how arduous it might be, and how long it might take to get somebody into the Golden Visa program into Portugal.
Okay, well, yeah, it can be quite straightforward. To be fair, Connie, the idea behind the golden visa, it's kind of a golden ticket into Portugal. There aren't too many hoops to jump through
Right.
compared to other visa routes. And the main difference with the golden visa is that you don't physically have to be here. You don't have to physically live in Portugal in order to get that residency, and also to be able to apply for the passport after 5 years. So um, that fits the bill for a lot of people. But there is the requirement that you need to be able to purchase a qualifying investment of some nature. And you need to be able to invest a sum of at least €280,000 to have an investment to qualify for that visa. So as long as you don't have a European passport and you have that ability to invest, then the golden visa is relatively straightforward, and then
All
you
right.
can choose how long to live here. As long as you're here for 2 weeks every 2 years, that's all you need, and then you can look forward to the passports for your family after 5 years.
That's not too arduous, is it? Oh dear, I've got to spend 2 weeks every 2 years in Portugal. That shouldn't be
Yeah.
too difficult for anybody, should it? Now, the numbers here, when it first began, it was 500,000, wasn't it? Then there was talk of 350,000 for certain parts of the country and certain types of investments. Now you say 280, and also I think there's some discussion to be had about what kinds of investments that 280,000 might consist of. So could you walk us through
Mhm.
that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, as of the 1st of January, uh, 2022, the rules changed slightly on a number of topics. And the biggest change was the rules around investing in property for the golden visa. So as of the beginning of this year, you can no longer purchase residential property in any of the key cities like Lisbon or Porto, but also certain areas of the Algarve as well, where you now have to buy what's called a touristic or a commercial property like an apartment hotel, or a share in a hotel along these lines, rather than somewhere that you would physically live in yourself. But also the criteria changed slightly as well, and you have a couple of options. You can buy a new build property, any new build property in Portugal, or shall I be more clear. Any property that is under 30 years old is deemed to be a new build, and for
Uh-huh.
that there is a minimum of €500,000 that is still in place. If you buy a property that is over 30 years old, that is going through some form of refurbishment, then that minimum comes down to 350,000,
Uh-huh.
which is quite a big discount. But if you move either of those into what is deemed to be a low density region, then you get a further 20% discount off that. So if you meet the right criteria, you can bring that right down to 280. And that's where we generally focus our efforts, Cal, on kind of finding good investments below that minimum criteria of 500,000. And yeah, there's many different ways to do that. Property is by far the most popular route to the golden visa. You also have the option through like a Portuguese investment fund,
Okay.
which again has a minimum of 500, which increased from 350 last year. Um, Again, a very viable way to the golden visa, but it does have more of an investment risk. Naturally, the stock markets haven't had a great time so far this year, and that kind of volatility of an investment fund is quite it's quite scary for some people,
Right.
and property tends to be the more straightforward route. So they're generally the two main ways.
And if I could break that down a bit further, I mean, 280,000 in a low density area, whilst people might think, oh, that means I'm not going to be living in downtown Lisbon or Porto.
Yeah.
It's actually a really well kept and wonderful secret, the interior of Portugal, right? So people might want to think twice about rejecting it because they're not going to be in the picture postcard places that they're familiar with. All of Portugal has that same spirit, I think, of beauty and kindness and generosity and that sort of welcoming hospitality that you get. And there are some really wonderful, well kept secrets in the interior. So from and you're spending less money, 280,000. So that's worth bearing in mind. Then the investment vehicle. So you're thinking maybe stick to the 280,000 in an investment property, bricks and mortar. But for those
Mhm.
who are a little bit happy with risk, you might look at an investment vehicle which isn't necessarily buying a property anymore, but investing into a fund of some sort. Is that right?
Yeah, potentially so, Carl. But just to come back a step, I mean, the idea is that we do want to buy in the picture postcard parts of Portugal. That is still the plan. We
Oh,
craft
okay.
out investments that meet the criteria. And that's a great example, Carl. I don't know if you've been to Alvor in the
Yeah,
Algarve. Have you been
I
to
heard of it.
Alvor?
I drove near it at the weekend. Yes, and we have a friend in Portugal who never stops singing the praises of Alvor. So yes, Alvor sounds good.
Yeah, well, Alvor is a classic example. I mean, it's outside of Albufeira where I live. It's my second favourite part to go if I'm staying for a couple of nights outside of town. But it is a beachside city. If you type in my name on Google and type in Alvor, you'll see some videos around the incredible beaches.
Uh,
And there is now it's still a good tourist attraction as well. And you've got to bear in mind, Carl, that these properties now for the Golden Visa they are commercial properties. So it's important to be near these city centres because you want to be able to attract a good rental return
yeah,
from holidaymakers as well. So yeah, Alvor is a great example. You can still buy in land. If you want to buy for residential purposes and move to Portugal straight away and buy a property in land to live in, that is perfectly okay. But the majority of our clients are not moving to Portugal straight away, and therefore you want to make sure you've got a property that is generating a good return whilst
for
you're not
sure.
there. And
Yeah.
that's where the likes of Alvor and comes in and towards Lisbon as well.
So there is some nuance and complexity to discuss depending on what your own personal requirements. So if it's just a straightforward investment that's going to be quite hands off, or if it's going to be somewhere you live yourself, these are things to discuss with you and your team, Jason. Anything else people need to know about the Golden Visa before we talk more about Holborn?
Um, Not hugely. No, it's a good thing. 'cause it's a good topic. I like talking about the golden visa. First thing is you just find somewhere that you like to buy. What a great thing to do. You find a great investment, and then the rest really is all the kind of back office and dealing with the bureaucracy in Portugal and the red tape and so on. That is done entirely by my team and our back office here at Holborn. So it's very much it's a very difficult process made very simple as best as we can.
That's going to be a relief to people to know that you'll be taking care of that. They do the easy bit, which is finding somewhere nice and doing all the nice stuff like looking at property, and then you'll take care of the bureaucracy and paperwork. Tell
Yeah.
us about Holborn and who people would be dealing with then as a company, if you will.
Yeah, sure. Well, I formally work as a financial planner, Carl. So my day job, I'm qualified and experienced as a financial advisor, specialising in the Portuguese tax regime and Portuguese compliant products. So you kind of have kind of twofold with Holborn Assets. You have the financial planning arm. We're one of the biggest financial planners now, certainly in Europe. We manage just in excess of $3 billion between our 20 offices worldwide. I've been in the industry providing financial advice now for around 15 years or so. So any questions around taxation or investments or retirement planning generally, we help to kind of craft that individual plan. But a part of the Holborn group now is Holborn Passport, which is that service designed specifically around citizenship and residency by investment. So it's very much kind of a one-stop shop. I work ultimately as, you could see me as a bit of a project manager, Cal. So when we're talking to a client about attaining the golden visa, as I mentioned before, the first step is to find a suitable property investment or investment fund, should that be the preferred route, and finding a property that is in budget and also has the right incentives, whether that be a buyback offer once the passports have been granted, whether it be a guaranteed rental income. Perhaps it could be a concession where the property taxes are paid on the buyer's behalf. But we look at the different options available in Portugal. We make a decision based on which one is the preferred route with our client. And then, yeah, off we go. We set up the bank account. We set up the tax numbers as the first two steps thereafter. And then we complete that property purchase, ideally within kind of 4 to 5 months. And then at that point, we can then submit the application for the golden visa.
Superb. Jason.swan@holbornassets.com if you want to get in touch with Jason and talk that through. Jason, thank you very much. And of course, from time to time, there are Expats Portugal webinars featuring Holborn and more discussion about the golden visa. So make sure you keep an eye on the website, expatsportugal.com, to find out when the next one will be coming up. What's the next highlight for you in the Algarve? Somewhere nice to eat, a weekend away? What do you do down there when you're having fun in the Algarve when you're not working?
Well, I'm looking forward to Christmas, to be honest, Carl. Now it's only a few weeks away, isn't it? Hoping to
Christmas in
get some nice
Portugal.
presents.
And the
Christmas in
Portuguese do
Portugal.
Christmas beautifully, don't they, as to be said?
There is nothing better than spending Christmas on the beach or in a hotel near the beach. It's a very strange, coming from Manchester, it's a very strange feeling, but
That,
it's perfect.
that, my friend, is quite the contrast. So there you go. Jason, thank you very much for talking to me today about the golden visa, and we'll see you soon on a webinar. Take care and bye for now.
Thanks, Cal. See you soon.